Hey cats, Ed Midsole Bud here. Today I'm taking a look at some of the weirdest running shoes available on the market right now. The makes and models of running shoes that are the equivalent of a William Shatner album, or perhaps pairs that are closest to the Disney-produced Michael Crawford film released in 1981 called Condor Man. Either way, it's the weirdest running shoes on the market as of 2024. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you're enjoying the channel. If you are, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. It really helps out. Also drop us a super thanks as well if you want to help support the channel on a more ad hoc basis. Weird running shoes, there's tons of them. Let's get to it. First up is the 2 carbon plate NING Feidian Shadow. Feidian. Yeah. This is a P-Bax or Boom technology running shoe, and it's got 40mm of heel stack in the sample size. It's actually a 10mm drop in this shoe. You don't often see that when you got 40mm back there. In fact, higher drop shoes are becoming sort of against the grain almost. Everything's got like a 6 or 8mm drop, so seeing anything that's got 12 or 10 is quite the novelty. Apparently this is not available for elite competition because it does have those 2 carbon plates to create what appears to be like an oval void in the centre of the midsole there. I guess this would produce some sort of springy sensations. Also, I guess you could put some of your shopping in there. Does remind me a little bit of the way that Adidas have used that energy core section in the Adidas Prime X2 Strung. Sort of like contained within the Lightstrike Pro and the 2 plates as well, or plate sections. The 2 carbon plate design is one that few have bothered with so far, though I am keen to point out this shoe is extremely expensive if you can find it in those higher sizes. I found one pair for about, I think it was €250, which is about 218 quid, so it's not something I'm prepared to gamble on really. There doesn't appear to be a specific UK dealer either for any of this stuff. It's all just pairs dotted around Europe here and there. Bit hesitant to grab one of those really if I get the wrong size or if I have to send it back. Am I even going to be able to do that? Certain European countries don't seem to want to deal with the UK whatsoever. It does seem a bit weird that NING don't seem to want to get more of a foothold, no pun intended, here in the UK. They just seem to let Adidas and Nike and the rest of the gang just take all the sales. Where this one actually looks quite intriguing. I mean, yes, it's pretty weird. Does remind me a little bit of one of the Jordan basketball shoes that we've had recently over the last few years. I think it's the Jordan 35. It had like a gap there in the middle of the midsole. Very similar to this thing. Clearly these models are using some top-line tech that's very similar to the stuff we're seeing in Nike or Saucony releases, but they choose to market them only in Europe and Asia. It's about 240 grams for a US size 9 of these, so it's about 8.4 ounces. It's perhaps more in line with something like their Prime X Strung really, though I guess there are hints there of the PUMA FASTROID NITRO Elite. No midsole foam there in the gap at all, in fact, in the PUMA shoe. Either way, it's one of the weirder models I thought I'd point out to you. Next up, a really bizarre one from 361 Degrees, or 1 Degree Beyond. This is supposedly only 98 grams in the sample size. That's typically a US 8.5 or a 9. Now, there's quite an insane rocker here. It does almost look like something out of a computer game or something. You can see there from the forefoot through to the heel, it's bordering on a curve really, and only rubber in key areas there in the forefoot and a tiny little bit back in the lateral side of the heel. They also seem to have minimized the plate width in this prototype. 361 were very keen to show this to a load of press the other day. Getting a shoe that's below, 100 grams is quite remarkable. Clearly drawing from the Adidas Pro Evo 1 here in the upper 2 with a very minimal transparent material to lower the weight as much as humanly possible. I guess with the plate shape here, it's kind of making the heel landing a bit softer. You've got less sort of a firm landing there, then more rigidity for the toe-off phase of the gait. I would assume from this one that they've ditched the insole too. That's what they did in their Pro Evo 1 after all. Getting rid of that extra rubber, you just don't really need that, do you? Super thin laces, and of course a quote to say that the shoe's probably good for 100 to 150 kilometers, which of course is more than the one marathon that the Adidas Pro Evo 1 was originally spec'd at. And quite clearly that shoe lasts a bit longer than that, but when you got a paper thin upper, it's gonna break sometime, isn't it? And to even have a prototype type shoe, which is apparently 95 grams on the horizon. So it does make the Adidas shoe quite heavy, actually, by comparison to these two. I am kidding, of course. 138 grams is absolutely nothing whatsoever, but I doubt you're ever going to find this model at your local Sports Direct. And also, it does beg the question, just because you can make a running shoe that's under 100 grams, should you? You can't have a weird running shoe video without mentioning the PUMA FASTROID. Now, I've been very tempted to pick up this shoe, just simply to try it out and see whether you can actually run in it. I really like the Fast R, and there's another PUMA shoe coming soon. I can't mention it at the moment, which isn't actually all that different to this one. Now, PUMA have been very clear to state that this is very much a fashion sort of casual shoe, though I'm not entirely sure it'd have the stability for me to use it around the pool table. I mean, the Fast R is a great race and pace training shoe, but adding more height to the heel and increased foot stack means some further changes are needed in the plate position and shape to make it work, and we can see those changes here. This one also, the retail is 315 quid, which is a lot of money really to test on a shoe. It's a bit of a gamble really. As I said, they state that this is very much a sort of maximalist, high fashion take on that running shoe vibe. Must point out, it is Nitro Elite foam here, I think, throughout the whole of the shoe. I don't think the end section there is that pro foam. I may be wrong, so it does make it a little bit closer to a shoe that PUMA have lined up for release very soon. February the 1st. Keep your eyes peeled. There are pairs of these flying around at about 150 quid on discount at the moment, and I kind of want to feel what they're like to run in. PUMA, maybe if you're listening, send me a pair. I kind of want to test them out, see what they feel like. That super shoe stack must be around 50 plus millimeters. I think the Fast R was a bit under 40 for me, so yeah, it's got to be over 50, or at least close to 50 in my size. Have any of you out there tried the FASTROID? There's clearly some like little changes that they've made here and there, even to the outsole as well. I think the box is even slightly larger to accommodate the height of the shoe. Talking of PUMA as well, I mean, the other odd design that they have out there is that fast forward Nitro Elite. I think that was aimed at like 5 and 10k racing, higher paces, and of course features that very aggressive kind of drop at the front of the shoe. Probably the most aggressive forefoot angle I've ever seen. There's a straight line there in the forefoot and very extreme back bevel in the heel. It almost looks like it could be uncomfortable to run in, but everybody says it's actually very smooth. And bizarrely, you kind of want to land on the midfoot with this shoe, whereas of course landing in the forefoot, you're going to have not an awful lot of cushion there. I guess they're trying to facilitate like a very fast kind of toe off and speed up the cadence somewhat with this type of design. A little bit like edge of the cliff type scenario. I always remember Kafuzi explaining the Zoom Fly, I think it was, a bit like, you know, you're on the edge of a cliff. As you put your foot down, you're kind of quickly toeing off. I mean, it's not so easy when you're a giraffe man with very, very long legs. Okay, last one up for today is the king of weirdness, I suppose. We've got the Mizuno Wave Dual Pro, which has no heel stack at all. I guess the intention here is to land midfoot and roll forward, but as you can see from the outsole, it's almost like a stiletto heel style structure. You've literally got nothing to land on back there, so you mustn't do it. The foam itself and carbon plate are very close to the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro, which is an absolute banger. That one really does work, though the profile, I suppose, more of a maximised track spike in appearance. Though with the huge discounts on this shoe, I think it's just a little bit too weird for most people to even bother trying out. The concept's just too wacky, I suppose. There's around about 180 grams in the sample size. It means it's going to be closer to like 210 or 220 in my size, which is a UK 11. So it's a meager weight saving really over something like the Vaporfly 3, for example, or like the Takumi Sen 10, and both of those shoes are just that little bit more versatile. You can use them practically for any sort of running, really. People say these things feel weird when you're running around with them at slower speeds, but I don't really agree with them these days. I think it's stable enough. Keep your cadence up and, you know, keep it nimble, and they feel fine. I think if I had to give a crown to any of these shoes, really, as to just how weird they are, I think I'd probably give it to that Mizuno. It's just such a bizarre design. I don't think the world is quite ready for it yet. So a little delve there into the weird and wonderful shoes that are available on the market right now. What other bizarre models have you run in over the last few years? Have I inspired any of you to try some of these out? Let me know down in the comments. Got a bit of a strange musical interlude for you today, but I think you're going to enjoy it. Over the course of Christmas, my son's become really obsessed with the film The Muppet Christmas Carol. It truly is a fantastic piece of Christmas festive kind of seasonal joy, I suppose. It was pointed out to me that there is another version of the film on Disney Plus. We've been watching like the standard one, and I always thought that it seemed a bit short, you know, it seemed like there was something missing, and there's a big section, I guess around the middle of the film, which has been chopped out. There's a song where Scrooge is sort of looking over his sort of lost love, and she sings this track called Love Is Gone, or When Love Is Gone, and it really helps the story to move forward. It feels almost a little bit rushed at that section without the song. I think it was like lost to the editing floor somewhere, but they've managed to find it and then edit it back into the film as this extended version. So I think it adds on like 3-4 minutes or something to the film, but it really does actually make the whole story arc a lot more impactful, I suppose. You really see his true despair at losing that wonderful sort of love that he had, and her leaving him, and that sort of almost pushed him towards becoming what he is, you know, at the very start of the film. And that is a nasty old miser with chains around him, with money boxes on the end. Yeah, I absolutely love the track. And it also works really well at the end of the film where they change up the lyrics, and it just has more impact then. So yeah, it's the true version of the film. Muppets Christmas Carol. Go and check it out. I know it's not Christmas anymore, but it's a brilliant film. You can watch it any day, even in the summer. Thanks for tuning in, people. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up like. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you